Hey, this is Chris Phillis with the HomeWise Group, and I am here to give you your real estate market update. Going for a little walk in Lotta Park. It's definitely a little hidden gem. It's quiet here. All right, so let's talk about it. I'm going to run through some of the stats, some of the sales activity, what we are seeing in home prices, where they might be headed, affordability, talk about a few different things. What else? I've got a savings tip that you definitely don't want to miss this. It's specific for you Charlotte residents here. So stay tuned to the end for that one. All right, so the number of sales are down, which really doesn't impact you as a home buyer or seller so much, and you'll see why here in a minute. But for real estate agents, there are just fewer sales. So 2021, that was the highest level in recent history, 10, 15, 20 years maybe. And so we had about 60,000 transactions that year. So peak COVID time, people were buying and selling like crazy. And so that number is down. And so we're on pace for more of like the levels of like 2014, 2015. Now the sales prices, so median sales activity is up from last year. So last year, 23, the median price was, well, it's up to 385,000. That's an increase of about 4.5%. And the average sales price is up 8.5%, all the way up to $480,000. So what's crazy, what's challenging for buyers specifically, is that the rates are higher too. So the rates have increased from 6.5% last year at this time to about 7.25%, 7.25% right now. So what does that mean for buyers? If you bought last year and your rate was 6.5%, you put 5% down, you'd be borrowing roughly $420,000, and that principal and interest payment would be about $26.55 per month. All right, so right now, if you're buying, you put 5% down on the property, your loan amount would be about $456 on average, purchase price of about $480. Your interest rate 7.5 or 7.25%. Your principal and interest payment is $3,111. It's about a $456 increase from last year. Every month, it's a 17% increase. And so it's just really hard for you as a buyer. Affordability is definitely tough for almost everybody. And so usually when we see fewer sales activity, it's a sign that the market's down, that there are just less people interested in buying real estate. But what we're seeing is that the prices, the demand is there. There's still more than enough demand for homes that are in good condition, that are priced in line with the market, right? There's going to be enough buyers for property, and the prices have been increasing. And so that is really a lot different from what we may typically see. So there's a few other things here. The inventory, we are starting to see a little bit more inventory. The months of supply, though, is still really low. So that's months of supply is really something that we as agents track. It basically says, hey, if nobody else were to put their home on the market, how long would it take for the existing homes on the market to sell? So a balanced market is about 4 months of inventory, meaning it would take 4 months for all those properties to sell, and it's still very low. It's only 1.7, so less than 2 months. And so really just means it's still a strong seller's market. You know, sellers are going to be able to kind of control, you know, where they want the price to be for the most part. And so that's kind of what we're seeing still. Okay, so interest rates, what are they going to do? They have a big impact on your affordability, your monthly expenses, right? So beginning of the year, the feds were anticipating or predicting, telling us that they were going to cut interest rates up to 6 times this year. Guess what? They lied. And so now the feds will meet 5 more meetings to discuss whether or not they will decrease or change rates in any way. They just met a couple days ago. They're not going to change rates now. We may see a reduction later in the year, but it's to be determined, right? Like, we definitely can't plan for that. We track a few different websites and companies that also make their predictions. So the Mortgage Bankers Association, they predict rates to be 6.4% by the end of 24. We have Fannie Mae, which is where pretty much all mortgages underwritten and sold off to. They also predict 6.4. The National Association of Realtors predicts 6.5, and Redfin predicts 6.6. So those have all increased from their predictions earlier this year. I think some of them were as low as like 5.8% by the end of this year, which isn't going to happen. So, you know, will that help you? yes. Tough to, certainly you can't plan for that, right? Like you cannot buy a home assuming that that will happen. So my suggestion to you, if you are considering making a purchase, is really just be dialed in with your budget. Make sure that you have a really good handle on your finances and figure out ways to save money, especially in other areas. Maybe it's buying a cheaper car, cheaper vehicle. I see a lot of people with high car payments right now. All those things do matter. And then really just budget it out so that you're not planning on rates to decrease in terms of being able to afford the property. And so that would be, my only real strong suggestion right now. And it's tough because I don't know if we're really going to see prices change a whole lot. They're really still short on how many homes that need to be built for buyers right now. And so I think nationally, it's about 4 million homes short at the moment. Now, I don't know if we're going to see a real dip in prices. And that is just simply because of the demand versus supply, right? Basic economics, still the same story in the sense that we are still short housing. And there's definitely a need for housing, especially when the city is growing like Charlotte is. And so we get 100 people here a day. That seems to be still happening. And there are a lot of companies moving their headquarters here. So those are all good things for us, but does it make housing more affordable? Definitely not. Definitely a challenge. And so we'll all see how this all plays out. I mean, I think we're fortunate to be in Charlotte. You certainly would want to live in this city versus many others. Just the weather here alone is great. I want to mention two other things really quick. And the first one is I ran the average price right now for a home in Myers Park. If you want to live in the Myers Park School District, which is the premier school district in Charlotte, the average to get in one of those neighborhoods is $1.8 million right now. Your mortgage payment with 20% down would be about $11,000 with principal, interest, tax, and insurance, etc. So you would have to make quite a bit to be able to afford that. The average rule is your mortgage payment with tax and insurance should be less than 28% of your gross before taxes are taken out monthly income. And so I haven't done the math on that, but you would need to make quite a bit each month. I mean, it's just amazing the prices in some of these areas and neighborhoods here. So puts things in perspective. Hopefully you pay less than that. All right, so the second thing is, with all of these people moving to Charlotte, you know how terrible traffic is, right? And who wants a car payment anyways? So here's my solution, my tip, my suggestion to you. Get a horse. That's right. Get a horse. I just checked with the county laws. We can take a horse on any street. It's just we can't go on the interstate. So the horse would have to be able to keep up to within 15 miles per hour of the speed limit. So if the speed limit's 55, we'd have to go at least 40 on the horse. So that's not going to fly. So local streets, take your horse. And now what's even better is that for you folks who like to go out to the breweries and have a few, and instead of taking an Uber, you can just hop on your horse, and guess what? You can't get a DWI on a horse. So they figure the horse is smarter than us, not going to lead us into some ridiculous situation. So that's my tip. You can get where you need to go faster and plus save money to afford a house. Get a horse. We're going old school, baby. All right, so that's it for right now. If you have any questions on the market, feel free to reach out. I'm Chris Phillips with the HomeWise Group, Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'll talk to you later. I need a golf cart. I think I'm going to change careers and just be like a ranger.